Hi, I'm Mr. Beast, and today we're trying to find 26 horror movies a nice new home. Dark bleatings, everyone. I'm freezing my horns off today. Anyone else absolutely bloody freezing? So, following on from last week's video about where I recommended a book for every letter of the alphabet, a horror book, I thought it would be fun to recommend a horror film for every letter of the alphabet. I'm an 80s baby, and basically all of my favourite horror films are from the 80s, early 90s, late 70s even. There are a few modern day ones that I absolutely love. So for this list, I have really done my best to compile a good mix of things across the decades, different types of horror films, because I basically love horror in all its forms. Now let's get the obvious ones out the way. Alien/Aliens, the best films ever made, in my opinion. I alternate between which one of those two is my favourite. Is probably Aliens as a favourite film of all time, but I absolutely adore them. But those are very obvious A-letter films to give you, so I also wanted to suggest A Good Marriage, based on the novella by Stephen King. A Good Marriage is about a lady whose husband works away a lot, goes on business trips, and on one of his trips she's looking for something in the garage and discovers that he has a very chilling secret, and then the rest of the film is her like trying to figure out how to navigate that. That was like a really chilling film, an absolute nightmare of a scenario to be in, and I really enjoyed it. I don't think it was like a blockbuster or had like a huge cinema run. It might not have even been out in the cinema. It might have gone straight to streaming or even DVD, I don't know, but I rated it. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure there are some people that will argue with me and say that that's a thriller, not a horror. I also don't really know a lot of the time what the difference between a horror and a thriller film is. All I've noticed is that things are marketed as horrors, and then if they win some sort of notable award, all of a sudden they're marketed as a thriller now. So I don't really know where the line is, and I don't really care also, so do with that what you will, I guess. B, The Black Coat's Daughter. Obviously for the purpose of this list, if something begins with the word the, I'm going to the next letter. The Black Coat's Daughter is one of those films I absolutely love, and I know one other person who's seen it. The Black Coat's Daughter is set in a girls' boarding school. It closes for the winter, but there are two girls that are stuck there. A Catholic boarding school, by the way, run by nuns and stuff. And there are two girls stuck there. One of them just hasn't been able to leave yet. The other one's parents were due to collect her and didn't, and she doesn't know why yet. And yeah, it's just the two of them with the nuns living in this place that's all of a sudden empty, and there's some scary stuff afoot. This is more for fans of a slow burn, I'd say. It's not a really long film or anything, but it's not going to satisfy people who enjoy carnage. It's a slow build that builds somewhere great, in my opinion. But yeah, it's not for everyone, but it's definitely for people who like sort of a slow burn, atmospheric kind of horror. And it's one of the more contemporary ones on this list. It was made in the last, I want to say 10 years. I'll say 15 just to be safe. Number 3, this is from the early 2000s, maybe the year 2000, I can't quite remember. That's my cat running down the attic ladder, sorry if you heard that. And it's The Cell, starring Jennifer Lopez. Now, I've been made fun of for liking this film, and I don't understand why, because if you're somebody who enjoys like a disturbing score and like disturbing artistic visuals, this is one of the first films that I noticed like doing that. Like these days you get your modern quiet horror wave, and I say quiet horror, like they're quite horrific, but they're those slow suspenseful ones I'm talking about. Things that like Ari Aster, for example, who did Midsummer, that the kind of stuff they put out, filmmakers like that, where there's a lot of visuals stuff in the background and a lot of thoughts gone into the costume and the set design and things like that. The Cell is the first film that I can remember being really openly like that, apart from Suspiria from the 70s. But it's about a therapist who goes into the mind of a comatose serial killer to try and figure out where his last victim is, because they think that they might still be able to save her. And it's obviously she's diving into the the psyche of someone who is very, very disturbed. So there's a lot of like quite nasty imagery going on, but I think it's like a feast for the eyes. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure if I rewatch it, I'll find things to pick holes in, but I've seen it a few times and I thought it was really good and I really enjoyed it. D! I'm really excited about this one actually. Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt. It's a Tales from the Crypt film. This is going to be before a lot of people's time, I think, because I'm old, and this film is great. If you're someone who can't cope with like old effects and things like that, then you might not like this because it is dated, but there's a lot of practical effects in this that I really enjoy. William Sadler and Billy Zane pitted against each other. William Sadler is holding a key that Billy Zane, a demon king of sorts, wants to get, and it is all sorts of just batshit balls to the wall, like insane carnage. There are demons, there are funny practical effects, there's madness, there's Billy Zane popping a sponge out on his tongue. I couldn't really possibly wrap this film up apart from to say that it is like a whole load of fun. It's really in keeping with the feel and the tone of the Tales from the Crypt TV series, and I really, really, really love that film, and it fills me with like happy nostalgic memories. E! I'm sure people will laugh at me for finding this film so scary, but it's The Exorcist. An oldie but a goodie. It's a classic. In my opinion, it's one of the best films ever made. Never mind just best horror films, just one of the best, just one of the top. The writing is really good. The special effects, the practical effects, for the most part, have aged just fine, and for a film made in the 70s it was extremely scary. I can imagine it being very, very scary when it came out, but it was still terrifying to me when I first saw it when I was a teenager. I'm sure a lot of people will find it boring. I think it's about 2.5 hours long, and that was extremely long back in those days. When it first came out, and a lot of people say that it takes like way too long getting to the scary stuff, but the build-up is very necessary for the context of the scary stuff to be scary. So I disagree with the criticisms of it, but I understand that, you know, a lot of people, you know, we live in an age of sort of instant gratification these days. People's attention spans are getting a lot shorter, and I'm not saying that like an insult, it's just the way it is. It's the way that things have morphed over time. So for someone like me that was born in the 80s that saw that film when I was 15 or so, it's terrifying and I still love it. But if you're someone who's, you know, 18 years old right now, this might not do it for you in the same way, but it's amazing, and I don't think that it's been topped as an exorcism style film. F, another goodie, and I was thinking hard about which F film to put on this list, but I decided to go with The Fly, the remake starring George Goldblum. It's about a scientist, so it's a sci-fi horror. It was made in the 80s. I think it was either 84 or 86, can't quite remember. It's about a scientist that's trying to learn how to teleport things. He's built these machines, and something goes awry when something, you might guess from the title, gets into one of the machines. It's just great sci-fi horror, really fun concept, good practical effects and good performances, and it's just a classic for a reason. I really love that film. G, another oldie, sort of. I keep thinking that the early 2000s was yesterday, and the 90s were, you know, 5 years ago, but it's Ginger Snaps. I think this is from the late 90s, the early 90s. Who cares? Ginger Snaps. It's a sort of feminine take on werewolves, and it's one of those ones that gets banded around as one of the great werewolf films, and for good reason. It's really, really entertaining. It's about Ginger, who you know, gets attacked by a werewolf, and it's sort of like an allegorical and metaphorical story about these two sisters. Lots of sort of like fun blood, guts and carnage, and then, you know, a lot of subtext and sort of deeper character stuff as well. So that's a really enjoyable one, and one I like to rewatch sometimes. It's really good fun. H, coming back into the modern era a bit, a film that was made in the last decade, I think, is Hush, by Mike Flanagan. Made this one, and it stars what is her name? His wife. His wife that's in all of the Mike Flanagan stuff. I really like her. I can't remember her name right now. So this is about a deaf novelist who lives in this beautiful remote sort of like woodlandy house, like surrounded by nature. So she doesn't have any neighbors in the immediate, you know, area, like in view of her house. And one night she's, you know, working away on her book, which is Midnight Mass, I think, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And a masked hunter of sorts turns up, and obviously she can't hear him, so it's quite a while before she knows that he's lurking outside her house. And then it's like basically a cat and mouse kind of story where he's hunting her and she's, you know, trying to use her wits to escape death. And I really enjoyed it. One of my favourite films of the last, few decades, actually. It's like in my top 5 at the moment. They all rotate my top 5 of all time, but it's in there right now. The Invitation. There's a couple of films called The Invitation. This is the one about the guy and his girlfriend who go to a dinner party. Thor's calling me. This, The Invitation, is about a guy and his girlfriend who go to the home of his ex-wife to partake in a dinner party. His ex has a new husband, or boyfriend at least. They've been on some sort of retreat, so the guests are a mix of old mutual friends of the exes and a couple of new people who seem a bit off. This is one of those sort of slow burn films. The man who's been invited, hello Thor, come in. You might have noticed I'm really awful at remembering character names, but even for my favourites. So the ex who's been invited, the guy, feels like something is really off, and he's getting increasingly like anxiety riddled about this. Everyone else around him is, you know, being kind to him, but no one else understands what his issue is. There's some very heavy stuff that happened between him and his ex-wife, so it could be that being in the house is triggering him, or it could be that there's something going on. I'm a bit of a script geek, so I really enjoy like tiny details planted in places, and I absolutely just love this film. It's so great. J is, of course, Dunham. It's Ju-on, The Grudge, the Japanese original of the American remake. And I personally found the original a lot scarier than the American one, although when it was released, I saw the American one when it was released in the cinema. I think that was like 2005 or something. And I was very scared. I will admit it. I was really scared. And then I watched the Japanese one and it ruined my life. And I've only seen it once, but it just scared the bejesus out of me. I don't know why, but the Eastern sort of take on ghosts is way scarier to me than the Western takes that you see, and I really enjoyed the film. I can't remember what I found so absolutely terrifying about it that was like extra from the American one. And fun little fact, it was the same writer and director that did both. It's very rare that you get the original creator to do the English language remake, but they did have that here. So I really enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone's heard of The Grudge. If you haven't seen the Japanese original, I really think it's worth a watch, and I hope you enjoy it and you get spooked just like I did. K, another one that's probably going to slip into the thriller category, but again, nightmare fuel. It's Knock Knock, a film that no one apparently has heard of, starring Keanu Reeves. He is a married guy with a kid, at least one, or kids. It's been a while since I've seen this. Kids, I think, and his wife and kids go away somewhere for the night or the weekend, I think, and he has to stay at home because he's working on this huge project or something like that. He's in the house alone in any case, and then 2 very hot young women turn upon his door, soaked by the rain. They've been dropped off in the wrong place by their Uber or their taxi or something, and they sort of they sort of make him feel obligated to like invite them in out of the rain so they can use the phone and everything. But there's something up with these gals. They have ulterior motives. If you have seen something else like this, please let me know in the comments if you've seen this film and you know what I'm talking about, because I really enjoyed the concept, and I would like to see more stuff like this. If anyone else can recommend something to me, that would be great. Elle. Again, lots of things I could do for Elle, but I'm going to go with The Last Exorcism, which is a found footage horror film about I think he's a faith healer. He does exorcisms and stuff, but he's an ex-minister, or what, I can't remember what his religious title was, but basically he's a con artist. He's, you know, he'd do these exorcisms, do these faith healings, and he would plant people, or he would, you know, set up illusionary type stuff to make people believe that he was doing an exorcism, that someone was possessed, and all that kind of good stuff. So he's making a documentary proving that like the whole system is fake and money grabbing and preys on people who need help, and he just picks someone almost at random to go and prove that the exorcism thing is fake, and that, you know, the church just takes money off people unnecessarily when actually they're ill, or they've been very, you know, suggestible or something like that. And then when he gets to the house, maybe it's not fake. One of my very, very favourites of all time, and my YouTube bestie Eric will agree with me on this, it's The Mist. This is based on the novella by Stephen King. I know I tried to only put one Stephen King based on thing in here, but I forgot by the time I got to N when I was making my list, M when I got to my list, so whatever. So The Mist is about a group of people who are trapped in a supermarket when a very mysterious mist has rolled into town, and it's really thick. You know, you can only see inches in front of your face, and there appear to be dangerous things in the mist. And it's just such a great, great claustrophobic story. I think it's more relevant than ever now that we've, this might sound like a strange thing to say, but now that we've experienced a pandemic and a lot of people were, you know, sort of like trapped in their houses and afraid of the outside, I think that this like kind of translates to that kind of feeling. And there's, you know, dangerous stuff outside, a group of panicked people stuck together in a supermarket, that's potentially quite dangerous. It's just a really good time. The characters are great, and the acting and the performances are really great. I really love the script for this one as well. This is another one where I just appreciated like all of the filmmaking. If you are going to watch this for the first time, or if you've seen it before and you enjoy it, I do recommend getting the black and white version, because that's the way that Frank Darabont originally intended, but the studio of course wasn't going to let him release a black and white film in this day and age. But if you watch it in black and white, the effects, the CGI it looks better in black and white, and it also captures the sort of B-movie feel that Frank Darabont wanted to go for, like way better than it does in color. So yeah, if you're gonna watch it, like watch it properly and get the black and white version. This is an oldie but a goodie. It came out in 1986 or 7, I think. It's called Near Dark, and it's a vampire film that got completely overshadowed by The Lost Boys that came out in the same year, so I guess it was 86. I just think it is such a shame that no one seems to have seen this film. Like the only other person I have ever talked about this film with is my cousin Tasha. Hello, if you're watching. She'll agree with me, this film's great. It features like several actors that were in Aliens, so that was a massive uptick for me when I realised that. Oh, I haven't told you what it's about. So this lovely man, like softly spoken little cutie, I think he lives on a farm, you know, he hasn't got out into the big wide world, meets a girl, and you know, that ruins his life. And we have a band of fairly vicious roaming vampires, one of whom is played by Bill Paxton, so that was just the best time ever. It's just a great little vampire film that kind of slipped under the radar. Oh, and there's a few films I thought of for this one, but this is the one that scared me the most, but it has been quite a long time since I've seen it, so forgive me if I get any of these details a bit wrong. But it is Oculus. Did I already say the title? I don't think I did I? I can't remember the names of the people in it, but it's the lady that plays the blue lady in Avengers. why can't I remember anyone's names? And I remember her character name in this film because it's Kaylee, and I never ever see a Kaylee in a film. There's just a film that doesn't seem to exist. I have seen a Kaylee in one season of American Horror Story. It was in Coven, and she wasn't even a main character. There's Kaylee in Firefly, and there's this Kaylee from Oculus, and those are the only three that I can never remember seeing. That's not relevant to why I like the film at all, by the way. So this film scared me. I don't really like jump scare films, and you can probably tell that from the things on this list. They're not very like in-your-face jump scary things. I should have probably thrown a few jump scary ones in, shouldn't I, actually, to get a good mix, but I'll do it on the next horror film recommendation, A to Z. It's about a girl. I think her brother is dead or in prison, or he was in prison and then dead. He's one of those, but he was accused of a very heinous crime that she's convinced that he didn't commit, and she's trying to clear his name in any case, and she thinks that the root of all the problems are in this mirror that she had in her childhood home. So she goes back, and do you know, I had a childhood fear of mirrors when it was dark when I was a kid. So Pathology, another film that people don't seem to have ever heard of, and also another one that probably belongs on a thriller list. It stars Milo Ventimiglia, Peter Petrelli from Heroes, Jess from Gilmore Girls, that one. He's a pathology student, or he's got a residency, I think. Oh no, wait, I don't know. He's learning to do investigate the dead bodies, you know, and they try and figure out the cause of death after the fact. And it's quite dark. He finds himself on a team. There's like one hotshot guy who's like the best on the team. They have like an instant sort of rivalry because he's also very good. So it's, you know, this original guy doesn't want to be like usurped or something by him. And the team seem to have kind of a mean-spirited, dark sense of humour, and maybe that's a pathologist thing. I mean, that kind of line of work does. I would imagine that requires a very particular personality type. Like, you'd have to have a sense of humour, wouldn't you? Or that kind of stuff would start to really disturb you. So I really enjoyed that element of it. I don't really want to say anything about the plot of this one because almost everything is a plot spoiler, but I really enjoyed it. I didn't really know where it was gonna go. I haven't seen it for a while. Might actually watch it right after doing this video. I kind of fancy it now. Also, this is a random thing to say, but the guy that was already the hotshot that already worked in the place, I swear, I don't know why I think this, but if they made this film in the 80s, I swear that guy would have been played by Kiefer Sutherland. Q is for The Quiet Ones. This was a contemporary Hammer horror, which I was quite delighted to see because I didn't even know that Hammer horror was still going as an organisation. So it's not like your, you know, obviously like your oldie Hammer horrors. Like, it's, you know, we've come a long way in film technology and whatnot since then. But this is about a team of, I want to say, researchers looking into a possession case. All I can remember is one scene that really scared me, and then my lasting feeling of the film all these years later is I haven't wanted to watch it again because I was scared watching it. So yeah, if you watch any of these on my recommendation for the things I find scary, I'm so sorry if you don't also find them scary. You'll know what kind of wimp I am when, yeah, if you, yeah. The Ritual! Did you think that there was going to be a video, even a film video, where I didn't mention Adam Neville? Haha, you fools! This isn't even my final form! So, The Ritual is based on the book of the same name by Adam Neville. It's about a group of 4 men who go to the, I want to say the Swedish wilderness, but it could be the Swiss wilderness, or even maybe it's Norway. It's one of the, Scandinavian countries, I think. Shit, is it? What am I even talking about? They go camping is what I'm trying to say. They go into the wilderness in a foreign country. They're from the UK, they go to a foreign country, they go into the wilderness. They're seasoned hikers and campers, these guys. It's the thing that they used to do together a lot. They've drifted apart over the years, and unfortunately one of their friends has been killed, so they're going, you know, they stick to going on this trip to like honor their friend. They get a little bit lost because of some events in these woods. There's something not right going on in these woods, and it sort of just builds and builds and builds. So I thought they did a really good job with the adaptation, and I really, really enjoyed it. S, and there'll be people who are mad at me for this, but it's a Suspiria remake. The remake. I have seen both. They're quite different, I think. I mean, obviously there are similarities, but the way they were shot is different, and the focus is different in both of them as well. Like there's like, there are different things going on, same things, but like different things focused on. So the Suspiria remake stars Dakota Johnson, and she goes to, oh, I can't remember where it is. Oh, why can't I remember anything? She auditions for a very exclusive, prestigious dance school. We already know that there's something quite wrong with this dance school. There's something up with the women who run it, like the older ladies who run it. And it's just a glorious film. I enjoyed every second of it. It's not for everyone. It's got its audience, but it's definitely not for like what you might call like a popcorn horror audience. So like people who really prefer things like Saw, that kind of stuff, like that. Suspiria might not be for you if you don't like both kinds of things. It's a slow burn. It's slow. There's a lot going on in it, but it is slow to get to the point. Atmospheric. The effects are really good, and the set design, dressing, and the character design and the costuming and everything is really beautiful. Again, it gave me similar feeling to the way that Ari Aster frames his stuff with Hereditary, Midsummer. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a lot of dancing as well. It's very dance heavy. The original didn't have as much focus on dance as the remake does. The remake is almost all dance, but the dance choreography is mesmerizing. I'm just really gushing about this film, aren't I? Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm going to rewatch that one again soon. I was very pleasantly surprised. For whatever reason, I just didn't want to watch it. And then when I did, I was captivated for the entire thing. It is long though, so don't sit down thinking you got a 90-minute watch on your hands with this one. I would possibly get a dinner ready. P. I can't resist, it's The Thing. It's about, I think they're in Alaska, snowy place that people don't live, and they've got like an outpost, like a research outpost. And a helicopter goes by shooting at a dog, and it goes down, and from there on they realize that maybe maybe they had reason to shoot at the dog. This is like a great monster film, basically, if you like that kind of thing, in an isolated wintry setting. So like, not only are they isolated, but the terrain itself and the environment could kill them, so like they are very trapped, like doubly trapped. It's, yeah, there's so many like classic scenes have come out of this film that have been parodied in 1,000 things, and for good reason, because yeah, oh man, what a film. You! Completely different type of beast altogether now. It's Unfriended, the Dark Web. I went for the second one instead of the first one. Now, people have made fun of Unfriended. They think it's stupid. They think it's shallow because it's, filmed on webcams, and it's, a social media, online bullying kind of messaging and whatever. But I thought that it was creative. Like, whatever you think of the film, I really do appreciate filmmakers that have a vision and they try and do something different. Unfriended Dark Web is a sequel, but it's not really anything to do with the first one. And it just uses the dark web. So you got a bunch of kids, teenagers, young adults on the interwebs, and they find themselves blackmailed into doing horrible things. And I just enjoyed it. It's just, you haven't got to think too deeply about it or anything. It's one of those ones you can just sort of sit and watch, switch your brain off for a little bit and enjoy a weirdly amusing, horrible story. V is for Vivarium, or Vivarium, however you say it, starring Imogen Poots and Jesse Eisenberg. Weird pairing. And I really, really liked this film. I haven't seen anything else like it, but it did give me the feeling of old school, like something you'd see on Tales from the Dark Side, or like The Outer Limits or something. I really, really loved it. So you got this young couple that wants to buy a home, but they're a young couple and the economy's awful and blah 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 blah, and they come across an estate agent who takes them to like a new development as a neighborhood. And hello Willie, they come across an estate agent who takes them to a new housing development, and he's a little odd, this guy, and he takes them to the house, and then when they're looking around he ditches them and leaves them there, and they think, well, that was strange, but no problem. They get in their car, try to leave, and they just can't get out of this neighborhood, and they end up back at the house. And then from there things get progressively weirder, and it's very anxiety inducing. It's really stressful. It's one of those ones where like you're trying to think your way out of the predicament, and they're like doing the things you think of, and nothing's working. So my mind was going over trying to figure out like how I would get out of this, and also like what the hell was happening. I really liked where it went in the end. I really enjoyed the entire narrative for this one. I loved the weirdness. I haven't seen anything else like it, but if you're someone who's seen this and you know the other things that are like it, I would love to know if you could put any suggestions in the comments for me. I would love to watch more films like this one. W is for The Witch. Another slow burn there. This one is written with the dialogue all in like period English, so we're set in puritanical times. There's a family that's been shunned by their religious community. They go to live in a house that's on the outskirts of the woods, and there's maybe a witch lurking in the woods. And I really love Black Phillip the goat, as you might have guessed. Black Phillip is a big influence to me. Also, I like to live deliciously. X is the film for X. Not because I couldn't think of anything else or anything that begins with an X. So X was a pleasant surprise to me. It's not the kind of film I normally like. I heard a lot of people saying good things about it, but I don't ever watch reviews of anything, not even non-spoiler ones, before I want to see a film, because even in a non-spoiler review, people tend to spoil something. Like, I like to go in as blind as possible if it's a horror film. I don't like to know anything at all. This is about so with that said, let me tell you what it's about. It's about a group of people who are making an indie porno. They rent a house on this land where these people live, and an old couple, and the old couple are a bit like me. And then terrible things happen. It's made in the last 5 years, I think, but it is set in the 70s, so it looks, the filming style, it had like almost like a Tarantino-esque filmic style feel to it. Really enjoyed it. It was quite different to anything I've seen that's come out in recent years, and yeah, it was a good time. Why? Well, this one is one of my favourite contemporary horror films that was made in the last few years, but I really hate the title, because when I try and recommend it to people, the title is laughable, and it's You Are Not My Mother! Or is it You're Not My Mother? So this is an Irish film, and I loved that because I hardly ever get to see a film that's come out of Ireland, and it's about I'm not going to tell you what it's about, because again, I went into this blind, so I had absolutely no idea what was going wrong. But suffice to say, it was very creepy, and it made great use of a particular type of Gaelic folklore. It was so good, very like heavily steeped in Irish culture, and it's like most of it's from the perspective of a teenage girl that's going through a really hard time. Her mother suffers with depression, which is very difficult for her, and yeah, the film really gave me the creeps, and I really enjoyed it. And Zed. Now, I toyed with which zombie film that starts with the word zombie to suggest for this one, but you know, ultimately I've gone with Zombieland, because I wanted to give you a film recommendation for a film I actually like that begins with Z, and although millions of films start with a Z, zombie films, I don't like many of them as much as I like Zombieland. So there you go. I hope there's something that you haven't seen on this list that you might enjoy. If based on these recommendations you think of anything you think that I might like, because I personally really liked all of the films on this list, especially if you have recommendations for more of like the quiet ones like The Invitation, that kind of stuff, I'm always on the lookout for. So yeah, I'd love to hear your recommendations in the comments also. So yeah, I'll see you on Sunday. I don't have a sign off, so please subscribe to my channel.